We definitely wanted some good command maps. Then we could make maps of our areas of operation, but we just didn't have any facilities or capacities to right now. Local maps had become increasingly more expensive to purchase, whereas they used to be the normal. I heard some chatter back and forth, but mostly tuned it out. It sounds like they were making contact with each checkpoint as they were passing by, so they didn't freak anyone out, since vehicle traffic had become increasingly rare due to the fuel situation. I thought some more about the maps. The problem is that internet maps had become all the rage due to their simplicity, but now without data plans or operating cell towers, they were almost all useless. I could still use my map offline, but that meant all the features had been stripped out. It was still a little helpful, but also ate up a lot of battery, especially if I forgot to close it out instead of just minimize it. We'd done a little map and compass work, but not a lot. I'd done some land nav back in Boy Scouts, but not a ton since then. Thankfully, I'd seen this coming and got a compass since I lost my old one somehow in a move a long time ago. I'd ended up getting a job for a little bit, long enough to buy a few more essentials before the collapse, and this compass was one of them. It now came with me everywhere. The maps, on the other hand, that was a different issue. I think the guys were talking about gathering up all the local maps they could find when they would go on scavenging runs. Hopefully they found enough to where we could at least share and dole out a couple to each subdivision. Some people still had maps from a long time ago. The roads were still good, but nothing else on them was. Probably because there'd been so much construction here over the last few years. Then, right about the same time, we heard a big diesel engine in the distance. Well, we could more feel it than anything. You could really get attuned to hearing far-off engines after you haven't heard them for a couple days. They were coming pretty quick. I heard them stop for a second. They must be grabbing someone that knows where this phase line is, I whispered. He whispered back, "Yeah, it's pretty easy to fly by it if you don't know." We heard the pickup truck rev back up again and start barreling down the empty street again. As it got close, it did some blinks with its headlights. That was the long distance check, so we knew they weren't an enemy contact. We stayed undercover anyway in our camo to make sure there weren't any potential snipers or whatnot. The truck came and whizzed on by. I face-palmed and my partner snickered. In a few moments, the pickup truck did a U-turn in the median, bumping all over all the concrete dividers easily. They were either having fun or in a hurry, or maybe both. They crossed the bridge and stopped right next to where we were. I figured they would assume we'd be on this side because this was the home side of the phase line. "Get in!" the driver yelled. It was a crew cab, but already full. We both hopped in the back. We didn't hesitate for a moment because they could get snipered as well. We both jumped in and then got down in the truck. There was room in between some crates. The truck started hauling down the road back to our subdivision's checkpoint. I noted it was the gal driving back from the recycling plant situation. I had made up names for everyone, and she was simply Driver. I was really bad at remembering people's names. She was the best driver we had and could drive any vehicle. The crates were rumbling and shaking a little as we rode back to our subdivision. I sat on the left side of the bed of the truck scanning for threats. My partners sat on the right side of the truck, also scanning for potential ambushes. We both had our rifles unslung and pointed up. That was the safest way so our rifles didn't swing towards each other. Our friends in the cab or down where a negligent discharge could damage the truck's vitals. I thought about the crates I was leaning up against, and they were easy to shift. I guess that meant they were empty, I thought to myself. It was strange to haul around empty crates and pick us up mid-patrol. Very rare and odd indeed. We got to our first checkpoint as I imagined them doing their long-distance checks. One of my friends from inside the truck said, "We got 2 of ours in the bed." Actually, it's 3. We've got 3 of ours in the bed of the truck coming out. We need to borrow India 589 for a while, as one of our subdivision guys got out of the truck. He was the one that helped them find me. Once he got out of the truck, that was our cue to get out of the truck. We did that carefully so that there weren't any friendly fire incidents. "No problem, just stop at the next gate and let them know really quick. That's where our CO is right now," one of them said. I handed my house key to my friend at the gate and said, "Please feed and water my cat tonight. I'll see you again tomorrow." I unslung my rifle and made sure it was unsafe. It was. Occasionally switching rifle carry positions, rifles had been known to flick themselves off safe. It wasn't an emergency, but something to check. If you followed all the other safety procedures, it was never an issue, only a precaution. I set my rifle in my cab and leaned it barrel up so it was pointed in a safe direction and away from the vehicle's mechanics. I took my backpack off and threw it in the truck as well. There was plenty of room in the vehicle now that the guide they had picked up had exited. I climbed in the back of the cab and I rested my backpack on my knees, since there wasn't much room in the cab to put it in between my legs. Then I held my rifle unslung. It was easier that way to get in and out of the vehicle. I could toss my bag out and then jump out with my rifle if I had to go fast. It was most helpful for ambushes to be prepared that way. "No problem, man," he replied back to me regarding taking care of my cat. We took off to the next entrance to our subdivision. We did our long-distance challenge to the other subdivision entrance and received a favorable message back and slowed down. The guy in our car, I recognize now from sitting in the back seat of the cab, was the XO of our rapid response team. He relayed a similar message to the CO of my subdivision. I asked how long I'd be gone for, and they didn't reply. That just made me wonder what was up, but I knew better than to ask. Just like that, I was surrounded by a couple of prior Army infantry and a firefighter, going to who knows where very fast. I never felt safer in my life. Chapter 6, Heading South. Morning, Day 1. I looked around in the cab and everyone had their ARs to their sides. I'm glad I had already unslung my rifle so I didn't have to wrestle it off in these tight confines. My AR was resting between me and my friend to my left with his AR. It had been quite a while now since I rode in a vehicle. As a precaution, I took a chewable meclizine out and chewed on it. A berry flavor popped in my mouth a little bit and then disappeared. I started to feel a little swimmy and eye strained, but in only moments the vertigo pill did its work and I was fine. Everyone else had their window rolled down a little bit, so I did as well. The fresh air would help. That got everyone's attention and I got a pat on the shoulder and a pat on the leg from two of the guys. They were always really happy to see me. "We have to make a pit stop at Hotel Bravo, then go out to the record store," the guy sitting in front of me said. It was our XO. "What's the sit rep?" I asked. There's a sale at the record store. Everything must go," he responded. I sighed and leaned my head against the window, then I wrestled out a water from my bag and started sipping on it. I must have fallen asleep for a little bit because I woke up at Hotel Bravo with everyone getting out of the vehicle. All my friends were there, which I thought was weird because I hadn't seen them in a while. I jumped down and was happy to see everyone, but everyone looked serious. I decided to look serious too and act like I knew what was going on. One of the guys, built like a tank, looked over to me and said, "Hey, glad you're here." I told him to shut the hell up and he laughed at me. Then a couple more of the guys started to tell me they were also glad I was here, and I just scrunched my face at them. I made them all laugh and broke the tension, which was good. There were about 20 of us total, but everything was quiet. Everyone was quietly doing comms checks and weapons checks, waiting for the next steps. We always had extra radios and cords on hand, because they weren't always 100% reliable, since all this had been done on a budget. "Anyone need any water?" one of the guys asked. A few others raised their hands and water was doled out. I was thinking of asking what we were waiting for when there was a crackle over the radio. Apparently a van was coming with identified markings similar to what we were waiting for. We'd all stepped back to get out of the road, and I heard a van and I heard it stop and some doors open and close. Then I heard it continue our way. "Yep, it's ours," someone said. Someone else said, "Any pee breaks? Last chance for a little while." A few people went to go to the bathroom. I was okay, so I waited. The van pulled up and another one of our team got out. Everyone who went to the bathroom started trickling back. We divided into teams, each of us with a lead. We were each told out to our team leads and got to vehicles. I was assigned to sit in the back of the van on the floor. I pretended to roll my eyes at them and they laughed. I didn't actually roll my eyes because that would give me a bad headache. I gave them the thumbs up and unslung my rifle and took off my bag and climbed in the back of the van. Thankfully, I wouldn't mind the motion sickness at all from being shut off from the outside world since I'd taken the Melkazine. One other guy was assigned to me, another friend of mine. They were all my friends, actually. I'd sat down in the van, and he came over and sat down next to me. There was ample room back here, so it was neat being able to stretch out in the cold weather. It was a big cargo van, but all the seats had been taken out except for the front one. I started to form an idea of what we were going to be doing at the record store. Our CO got in the driver's seat, and one of our smaller guys got smushed in the middle with another riding shotgun. In a few moments, we had taken off.